About a year ago, I started to grade with PSA. Yes, I know I joined the evil empire. I paid my $99. The backlog was clear. It gave me smooth sailing for a grading year ahead. So I wanted to take a trip down memory lane and talk about how the first year of orders went. Welcome back in ERB Sports fans to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the first year of grading with PSA. I graded 12 total orders, so about once a month, give or take. Most of these were on specials. Some of them weren't. None of the orders were expedited. All the orders were under 30 cards. Most of the orders were between 20 and 30 cards, some orders being less, some orders being slightly over 20 cards. The gem rate that I was seeking was obviously everybody wants all 10s, but I was curious, how did the year turn out as a whole? I talked to Brett during our live stream last night when we were talking afterwards about what a typical gem rate from PSA was. I told him I graded about 200 cards, and he said, "That's not bad. That's pretty good." And I said, "Well, how many gems do you think I got?" And he said, 120. And I laughed and I said, "Man, you're pretty good. You're pretty darn close." Grading 218 total cards, one of which was rejected, so call it 217. Having 121 cards get a gem is around a total of 55 to 57%, depending on how you look at it. Brett said he would expect about 60%. So I thought, man, I could have done better, but it is what it is. Looking at the orders, order to order, in the first order there up at the top, I submitted that under a special right at the turn of the year in 2023. I had a boatload of cards that I had built up that I was waiting on submitting, and I thought, man, I'm gonna nail this order. I came back and I got 6 out of 29 were PSA 10s, and I thought, man, I just blew that. I just totally blew that. But included in those 10s was a pretty nice Giannis color match / really cool card, along with an Elly De La Cruz Bowman Chrome Auto that I ended up selling right when he got called up to the big league. So overall, even though that order was a little bit disappointing on the gem rate, it did fare out pretty well. Then I managed to kind of focus and really learn a lot from that first order, what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, improved the gem rate a little bit, and then it kind of took a step back, and it kind of toggled around that 60 to 70% range. We'll go over some of those final numbers in the end, recapping the total. So kind of stepping through each of the grade orders that I had in terms of what I got for grades. Like I said, 121 gems out of 218 cards, a little over 55%. The PSA 9s were another pretty solid total overall. PSA 8s, unfortunately, until recently, I thought I'd sort of flushed those out from my grade submissions. I thought I was never destined to get a PSA 8 again. Well, I thought wrong, because I ended up with 6 in one of my recent orders and 1 in the last order. So literally 2/3 of my totals for 8s came in the last 2 orders. PSA 7s, I had a few rare moments of PSA 7. I think one was a Juan Soto short print. The other one was a Jabari Smith. I almost said Jalen Smith. He plays for a different team. Jabari Smith, silver out of Flux. They gave me a 7 on that one. I had a good laugh about that. And then one lone 6 was an Ichiro X-Fractor. I think they dinged me on the Boeing on the card or whatever. I'm not really sure on that one. But I did, like I said, I did pretty good to get a gem rate of 55%. If you take out that first order, I think the gem rate would probably be over the 60 that Brett was quoting. So I did pretty good there. There were a few cards I got back that I wish I would have graded earlier. There were some that I wish I wouldn't have graded at all. I had a bunch of Elly De La Cruz that got back right during the absolute wrong time when he sort of was not fizzling out, but sort of cooling off a little bit from his peak earlier in the summer. Ended up losing some money on that, but you live and learn. Had a Wander Franco auto numbered out of 50 that came back right after the whole allegation thing broke, and I thought, I probably should have sold that card then. I hung on to it, and, it is what it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But there were definitely a lot of good cards in there. One ironic thing is I didn't get upcharged one time. So Taking a closer look at the grades, looking at PSA 10s, PSA 9s, PSA 8s. If I look at the PSA 10s, the gem rate started at about 21%. My highest was 83%. Pretty solid there. Gem rate relative to the PSA 9 rate. Overall, I would say that PSA 9 rate started at 70%, and then that was the worst order. The best order was about 17%, so the inverse of PSA 9 to PSA 10. We're going to look at the PSA 8s only from a matter of looking at that second to last or third to last order there. It had a really high PSA 8 rate, but I think most people that graded under that special, from what I saw on YouTube for people that record their openings or their reveals of PSA orders, I think there's a decent chance that some of us fell victim to the PSA 8 quantity being a little bit too high than what we were used to. Maybe it was us just sending in cards, being a little more aggressive. I don't know. But overall, like I said, it would have been great to have 0 PSA 8s and only 9s and 10s. I think the total number of PSA 9s and 10s, if you add them up, we'll take a very close look at that here in a little bit. But it's around 93%, and so overall pretty good. Grading costs, when I added those up, looking at the month by month, looking at the price that I paid, less the shipping, I kind of wanted to see what would be the cost to get a PSA 10. So in other words, if I took the total grading fees and I said, okay, put it all in a bucket, take the PSA 10s, divide it by the total that I spent, tell me how much I'm paying per PSA 10. I think that's a really good metric that some people could track to see how they're doing. Because if that number peaks at like, let's say $40 on regular submissions, you're not doing very well. You're really leveraging a lot trying to, double and triple and quadruple your money on PSA 10s. And that's really going to make it hard for you to break even. There were definitely some orders in here where I struggled to break even. I mean, I might have eked out at least a $25 profit, but looking at the total dollars spent, about $4,000, I was that obviously surprised me. I didn't think it was that high, but it was. And looking at the 121 gems that I got, the cost to get a PSA 10 was a whopping total of $31.55. Then you got to add on shipping in both directions. So you're looking at probably $33 per PSA 10, which I don't know if that's good or bad. Obviously, when PSA was charging more for submissions and they were in the $30 range for any card grade for that matter, or $25 per card, that would have been an absolute train wreck to get a gem rate of 60% and pay that much. Then that ratio would have been about probably $40 per card to get a PSA 10. So $32-ish, we'll call it $33 to be safe, per PSA 10. I don't know. I think I did all right. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Did you guys do better? Did you find that this video helped you in terms of deciding whether you were ready to submit to PSA or not? Is grading a scam? I know there's going to be a few that comment on my videos saying grading's a total scam, it's a total sham, it's a waste of money. I will say it makes you leverage cash out there in front of yourself that you definitely had to fight to get back. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.